everyone, Kathy the Vegan Prepper here, and about once a year or so I make a really big mountain rose herbs order in order to restock us of the things that we have used or to get an amount of a new thing if I feel we need it. So I figured I would go ahead and show you the haul that I just got, which will hopefully have us set for about the next year. Vegan prepper. Vegan prepper. Let's talk about the items one by one. First up, I got 2 full pounds of nettle leaf, and these are very famously good for allergies. That's not really why I buy them. They're also good for, I mean, just everything. Risha Check in his book says under the usage section for nettles, he just writes legion, period. That's it. Uses, legion. So it's just for so many things. So I have a personal theory, and I think a lot of people kind of share this idea that nettles are so ridiculously nourishing, really high in iron and all kinds of other trace minerals, that I think a lot of the times in our bodies we have an imbalance because we have some sort of deficiency. And so I think that nettles goes through and corrects many deficiencies. And so it ends up being credited with being good for or fixing certain things. But really, I think what it does is, what it's masterful at is resetting and healing the body and making it so that the symptom corrects itself because the underlying cause has now been dealt with. So I feel like nettle is just a must-have. And so I have 2 full pounds because we do go through quite a lot of this. Every single time I make a nutritious tea blend, it's got nettles in it. So beyond its use for allergies, it is also deeply nourishing to the veins and the capillaries, like specifically a lot of the little veins, and it can really help nourish those and make them more supple. And it's just overall a general blood building tonic. It really helps build your blood and help with your whole circulatory system and whatnot. Not like in a vasodilator way, or it doesn't like thin your blood or open your blood vessels so much. It just sort of nourishes the whole system and it kind of makes everything a little bit more loosey-goosey in there. And so that's really good too. So that's kind of how nettles works on that whole system. But anyway, so many reasons nettles is great. And so I got some nettles. I also got, for the first time ever, I can't believe I've been doing this for this long and I've never in my life gotten any comfrey leaf. I have tried to grow it multiple times. Every single time was spectacular failure. I guess it just does not like my climate here. But comfrey leaf is deeply healing for like injuries, sprains, I think tendons, maybe even bone repair. I would have to look that up, but it's like so healing. And you can make salves of comfrey that will heal cuts and things like that. But comfrey is one of those you have to work really hard, or you have to be very careful with, because it is so deeply healing and so good at its job that if you have a very deep cut, for instance, like a surgical wound, like there might be some herbs that would be good for addressing a surgical wound, but comfrey is not one of them, because what can happen is it heals the surface tissues so quickly that the underlying tissues are not healed, and you feel like you're better before you actually are. You can end up really badly injuring yourself if you're starting to kind of move around too much before the inner surfaces or the inner tissues are healed, because ideally the way that it's supposed to work is you would heal like from the inside out. And so by the time the outer piece is totally healed, the inner piece should be totally healed as well. But if you use something like comfrey, and even sometimes I've read even like calendula might be able to do the same thing, but comfrey especially because of how fast it works. If you use comfrey, you might heal the outside before the inside is healed, and so that's bad. So just keep that in mind. That's just something you don't want to do. But I got this finally because my husband has he has a stress fracture in his ankle, and he's got a tendon issue. And so we're going to be starting to do soaks with comfrey leaf. I'll be brewing really strong teas to put into his soaking water. He does ice soaks and cold soaks, like he alternates. And so, sorry, ice soaks and warm soaks. And so probably his warm soak will have comfrey leaf in it. There is some debate amongst herbalists as to whether or not comfrey is safe for internal use. So I will put that out there, that is something that you might want to research on your own. And so like I said, I've never used this before. I haven't formed a very strong opinion, but I will say I'm pretty sure Robin Rose Bennett and Rosemary Gladstar both are okay with internal usage. So I will probably read what they have to say about it and kind of go from there. But I feel like I want to put that out there that it's something that you might want to research on your own. But yeah, comfrey is an incredible healer. So I'm also wanting to make medicinal oils out of this for making salves for healing stuff like issues and injuries and things like that. So that's why we got the comfrey. Okay, now and these are in no particular order. These are just as I grab them. We've got the yarrow leaf, and I think it's supposed to be leaf and flower. So yarrow leaf is one of those that's like, you got to have some on hand. I feel almost like with nettles, and then it's like yarrow, elderflower, elderberry. These are like almost essentials. Slippery elm. So anyway, obviously, because I bought these, so these are like my essentials. Also, you can tell because these are what we go through, and I'm purchasing because actually I ran out of nettles. I still have a tiny bit of some of these, but you know, these are what we use, and I repurchase them because they're essential. So this is the first time I've ever sprung for a 1 pound bag. This is an expensive one. Elderflower is as well. When you get a quantity like this, you can see how large it is. It's not quite as large as the bag of nettles, but it will be a lot. So this is, my gosh, it's a styptic. It stops blood flow. In the powdered form, you can put it on a wound and it will stop blood. I have also used it in tincture form on a deep cut, which was not pleasant, but boy, it stopped the bleeding. I got a deep cut on one of my fingers, and I just remembered, and it's like, it was one of those where it was just like a bleeder. Like it just was like, like it was on my finger. And I don't know if I like got my heart pumping or whatever, and blood was just coming out. And so I did some drops of yarrow tincture on the cut, and it was like almost instantaneous that it stopped the bleeding. So this is a very, very powerful thing to have on hand. It's also apparently really good in powdered form to put into your nose if you have nosebleeds that kind of won't stop bleeding. But now, of course, these are things that like you should probably get checked. But like, this is good to know, like first aid type kind of immediacy of treatment. Like if you're waiting for help or you can't get to help or something, yarrow is kind of amazing to have on hand. Now that is like external, and that's not even all that it does. I'm trying to be fast, but also internally. So it's interesting that externally it stops bleeding, but internally it actually, it doesn't thin blood. It doesn't do that, but it seems to prevent clots internally. Like when you take it internally, it keeps everything flowing the way that it's supposed to be flowing. So it's a really great one to have on hand too for like if you have a really light or spotty menstrual cycle, or a menstrual cycle that doesn't want to like start, using Yarrow can help get that started. And I am pretty sure that because of that, it's like something that pregnant women might need to be cautious about. So definitely if you're pregnant, look into that. But this is also part of a tea blend that is a very famous tea blend. And I'm going to say the name, the traditional name of the tea blend, and I apologize if anybody gets offended by it, but it is called the Gypsy Cold Care Remedy, or the Gypsy Cold and Flu Tea, Gypsy Flu Tea. You'll find it all over the place, but it's usually listed with Gypsy in the name because it is of Romani origin, and I'm so sorry if I'm not using the correct terms. I do know that there are some people who are totally fine with the word gypsy and some people who are like seriously offended by it. So I don't know. But anyway, that is what the blend is called if you want to look it up. But I will also tell you right now, traditionally, it is 1 part yarrow, 1 part elderflower, 1 part peppermint. Yarrow is also really good at reducing fevers because it is a diaphoretic, which means it induces sweating. So that is probably a huge part. It's antiviral. It fights all kinds of stuff. So actually when I had COVID, I was drinking like 2 quarts a day of that blend, and it really did seem like it was helping with some of my symptoms and like keeping me going. So yeah, really good to have on hand, that particular blend. I'm going to be making a big batch of that tea for myself, but I'm not going to use the peppermint this time around. I'm going to switch for lemon balm because peppermint can be super warming in the body. I don't know if you see, like I have a little pink right here. I am beginning to experience hot flashes. It's seriously unpleasant. And so I have like a couple tea blends I want to be trying, but because peppermint, although it feels cooling, like when you drink it, also I was feeling like, oh, like it's just kind of too much peppermint. It actually, oftentimes we find it has a warming effect in the body. The last thing on earth that I need is a heating herb in my body. So I'm gonna be switching it out for lemon balm, and I think it's actually gonna be delicious. So it's gonna be yarrow, 1 part yarrow, 1 part elderflower, 1 part lemon balm is my personal Kathy vegan prepper cold care remedy blend. But it's good for so many things that I'm just going to have it on hand and then also drink it kind of as a tonic for many other things. So because I was talking already about elderflowers, here is elderflowers. I have elderflowers. So I have elderflowers and elderberry. And so this is one of those things to sort of keep in mind. Obviously they look very different, but both of these are classified as Sambucus nigra, which is because they are both black elderberry, that they are from the same plant. This one is just the flower, this one is the berry. And so when you're looking it up, I don't know if that might be confusing to anybody. I just thought I would point that out. Especially like if you're shopping on some place that doesn't have pictures or something, to like be really clear whether or not you're getting the berries or the flowers, because the plant name will be the same. So elderflowers, and there's reasons to keep both of these on hand. Now, elderflowers are good for a lot of things. They're also kind of antiviral, antibacterial, super wonderful. And I'm trying to remember if they also reduce fever. But what I know about elderflowers is, and I guess here, let me sort of talk about both of these guys at the same time really fast. So these are both respiratory allies and heroes, really. Elderberries are lower respiratory, so they seem to work a lot more in the lungs. Elderflowers are more upper respiratory, so they seem to help a lot more with sinuses and those kinds of issues. But they're good for a lot of other things too. I just, like, on the top of my head, I don't know, because I'm not as familiar with elderflowers. I just know that they help with upper respiratory sinus issues, which is part of the reason I'm going to be making a batch of my Kathy's Vegan Prepper Cold Care Remedy blend with the lemon balm, because I am dealing with just still sinus drainage from, I believe, from having COVID. When I caught it, I actually had bronchitis and a sinus infection for over a week. I had a fever and everything. I tested negative for COVID and I didn't have it, but I showed up and I went to an urgent care finally to get treatment, to just see what's going on. And I was in the waiting room for like 3 hours and I caught COVID in the waiting room. So that's my story. And I know this because I remember seeing the doctor and I all of a sudden, like as she was examining me, I remember being like, ugh. Like it was like that. I felt in the moment that I went, ugh. And then it was like, cause she was telling me you have a sinus infection and I got that. And I was like, my gosh, was it like, I just received that in faith or something? But anyway, so it was funny, like, but no, it's because I believe that's when it set in. And then that night I lost my sense of smell. So I caught COVID in the waiting room. But it's weird, like the sequence of events is very specific and strange, and I don't know if this is interesting to anybody, but I started taking an antibiotic because she prescribed me an antibiotic for the bronchitis, for the sinus infection, and I took 1 dose of the antibiotic and my fever went away completely. So I know that there was some issue that the antibiotic was addressing because my fever that I had had for over a week finally went away. And I was waiting because I didn't want to go to the doctor because of COVID, but I caught COVID at the doctor, which is kind of exactly what I was afraid of. And it happened to me. So I ended up kind of like getting better in some ways, but also getting worse in some ways. And then I finally, because of another reason, like I was afraid I was going to have to take my daughter back to the ER at Phoenix Children's Hospital. This has been a really long time for our family. Like we've had some issues go down in these last few months. She was fine, thank God, but I was afraid I was gonna have to take her and they wouldn't let me in without proving that I don't have COVID with all the symptoms I still had going on. So I had my son drive me because I was too exhausted to drive. And I went and got another COVID test and then that one came back positive. And then I suddenly saw back through the sequence of events. Like the fever went away, so the antibiotics addressed the original problem, but I lost my sense of smell and I was exhausted all of a sudden, like I had not been the whole time. And so I had caught COVID. So anyway, sorry, that was like a lot of information. It's just, I don't know, it's just interesting to kind of puzzle through and like look at the sequence of events. I don't know. But regardless, and a tiny bit of cough, sinus drainage, tiny bit of cough. I keep testing negative. I've had like 3 more COVID tests and I'm negative. But it's interesting though, as a tidbit that I think is not talked about very often, the entire time I had COVID, I did not have a fever the entire time. So that's interesting. So a lot of people don't actually even have a fever. So that little temperature test they do. Anyway, regardless, elderflowers for sinuses, because I'm going to be drinking that Yarrow, the elderflower, and the lemon balm, which is also antiviral and really good. And then hopefully, I don't know, that will hopefully start kind of kicking some of this sinus stuff in the butt because it's tiring. But I have heard from multiple people that that is something that seems to linger specifically with that. So if you had the same experience, or if you know of anything, or if you tried something that worked or whatever, let me know down in the comments below, because seriously, I would love to hear that. And back to the actual haul. Sorry for getting off topic. So let me go back to the elderberries now. So they're excellent for lung health. And I will say, yeah, I can say it. It's my channel. YouTube might not, they might demonetize the video, but for myself personally, basically, it wasn't until I began to drink elderberry infusions and take elderberry syrup. It wasn't until then that I started seeming to really notice a turnaround with the COVID. So I was drinking tons of that Yarrow and the Yarrow elderflower peppermint, and it was seeming to help. But once I started my blend, which I call berry beneficial, it's 1 part elderberry, 1 part rose hips, and then 2 parts nettles. And I started drinking like a quart of that a day plus a quart of the other one. Then I seemed to start turning around really fast. Because like I said, elderberry is for the lungs. And there's a lot of stuff out there that says elderberry contributes to the cytokine storm. And I am not 100% sure that I agree with that. Elderberry is extremely anti-inflammatory and it does a lot of stuff. So that's kind of almost like with the Comfrey. You're going to have to kind of make your own decision about that. But for me personally, I feel like I wish I would have started elderberries sooner. But I was staying away from them because of all the stuff I had read. But yeah, it seemed to help. So it's like lower respiratory, general immunity against primarily, specifically, apparently, flu viruses. It's really powerful as a preventive, like if you take it in syrup form. But we have also found in our house, it seems like stuff like that happens all of the time. Kind of somebody gets sick, and then, as silly as it may sound, with all the herb stuff I have around, it's like stuff just gets going so fast. And then somebody, and I was like, suddenly I will remember, or like there was one time all of us took turns getting sick, and then it was coming around again. Like it was like a couple years ago, and Adam was like, what about elderberry stuff? And I was like, oh my gosh, it was my husband who brought up the elderberries. And sure enough, as soon as we started doing elderberry, we all got better, and then it didn't come back. So it seems like they say that this is not as good as a treatment, like it's better as a preventive. But for me personally, I feel like it may be both. Like if we were taking it as a preventive, we might not have gotten sick in the first place. But I have seen it like almost like within hours of beginning to take elderberry syrup or doing an elderberry tea, like stuff shifts and like you get better. So elderberry is just a really powerful one to have on hand, and I try to never be without elderberry. So I reorder that constantly, not just for Mountain Rose herbs, but I ordered another pound because I'm pretty much out of all of my other elderberry now. I was making elderberry syrup for my grandma, and I just go through it and I make it and I give to people. So anyway, I mentioned rose hips. So these are fantastic for a lot of things as well. Very high in vitamin C. Now, how much of that is retained after you brew it into a tea is kind of up for debate. I don't know if it retains any of its goodness that way, but it's also really high in pectin and really nourishing in a lot of ways. Again, I'm just not 100% sure. Like I don't remember, but it is something that I started putting into my berry beneficial blend for the immune effects. And I'm pretty sure it also has really good effects, tonic effects for the circulatory system, but that is something that I would have to look up and verify. This is just something that we use and I keep it on hand. I know it's good. I just can't remember why. So I guess I should have been better prepared, but I do use that all of the time. And so another one that I have to have on hand at all times is slippery elm bark powder. This is one of those that is like all of the rest of them so far are basically weeds. Really, like except for elder, I guess is not really a weed, but like yarrow, comfrey, nettle, like these are plants people try to get rid of. So this is like a very sustainable way of doing your herbal medicine. This is one that is not like that. This is slippery elm can be really over harvested. So you have to be really careful about the source from which you procure your slippery elm. And so I very much trust Mountain Rose herbs to not be over harvesting or doing things that are harming the slippery elm trees. And so that's why I order all of my slippery elm from them, because I trust their sourcing. But it is definitely one to be careful about, because this is a potentially kind of, it's not like an endangered plant. It's just, it's easy for it to be really over harvested, and some places are not ethical about the way they harvest the plant. So this is one to be careful about. But slippery elm is fantastic for so many things. It's demulcent, it's mucilaginous. It has an effect, like it can really help calm even like coughs when you take it as a cold water infusion, or a cold just like a cold, like actually a lot of times when I do too, like with stomach upset, I have begun from a tip that I got out of Matthew Wood's, one of Matthew Wood's books, to be able to mix it into cold water. You don't just mix this dry into the cold water. What you do is take the amount that you want to drink in your water and do just enough water that you make a paste of the slippery elm bark. And then once you have made that paste, then add the rest of your water, and it mixes in so much easier. And it's one of those weird things where it's like, you mean you want me to make it into a sticky mess and then mix it in? It doesn't seem like it should work, but it does. And I have had so many times I've tried to mix it into water, and then you're just like drinking and it's just like like it makes you cough almost more because it's like dry and it doesn't quite get rehydrated, but it's like making the paste makes it actually go through the water. And then if you want to let it sit for, you know, like overnight or whatever, to really get that mucilaginous quality, that's when it helps the best for like respiratory cough stuff and like soothing that. But if you're trying to soothe like an upset stomach instead, constipation, diarrhea, all that stuff, then doing that like with the paste first and then mixed into cold water and then drink it, it is so healing and so helpful. And I'm talking like only like a teaspoon at a time. Like you don't need a lot of it. But also what I really like to do is to take it and mix it into applesauce. Robin Rose Bennett says she, every single day for her digestive health, she eats yogurt with slippery elm powder mixed in. So she's getting a probiotic and this amazing plant. Obviously I'm vegan. I'm not eating milk yogurt. I could eat plant yogurt. I am just like iffy on a lot of the plant yogurts out there though, because it feels like they all have like additives and chemicals and stuff. And I need to learn how to make my own. I know that it's possible to make really thick, gorgeous, creamy, like cashew yogurt. I just haven't learned that yet. So actually, if you have a recipe or a method, or you know about how to make some gorgeous, thick, creamy cashew yogurt, let me know down in the comments below, because I would love to know how to do that. So anyway, so she does that, but I just mix it into applesauce, and then it gives me all of those amazing demulcent effects in my digestive system. And then for probiotic, I tend to personally just eat more fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, vegan kimchi. There's a new fermented salsa I started trying that's just amazing, and like kombucha. So I do like a variety of fermented foods for my probiotics. But yeah, I guess as a tip for anybody out there who eats yogurt every day, if you put slippery elm, it can help you. But yeah, it's good, like I said, for coughs, digestive issues. It's one of those ones that's amazing because, like I said, it helps with both constipation and diarrhea. So it's kind of amazing. Actually, there's a lot of herbs that do that. Like you would think like certain herbs, that they just sort of balance the system. So it's like whatever imbalance you're having, it will balance it. So it'll help either extreme. So it's good stuff. Ashwagandha. So this is a really great one to have on hand. I like to buy it in root form and then powder it a little bit at a time as needed. And then I will mix it into chai or even like hot chocolate, or put it into smoothies like a teaspoon at a time. It's just like a really great adaptogenic herb. It helps to just do so many things. That apparently can help regulate hormones and give you more energy and just help with a lot of things. It's kind of based in Ayurvedic medicine. And this is just one that I like to have on hand all of the time, along with shatavari. So it's like ashwagandha and shatavari are both really wonderful herbal things. And so kind of hopefully the combination of those, especially the shatavari, which I have been taking shatavari now every single day, will hopefully start balancing out whatever hormone issue is going on and doing the hot flashes. But I'm going to let you guys know. But yeah, I'll let you know. So also, before I get into the other things, I will just mention, oh yeah, I put the stickers in there. So they sent these stickers. I didn't ask for them. So it's like little vinyl stickers. I imagine like for your water bottle or whatever. So they're kind of cute. But I got myself finally, after years of struggling with little like bowls and stuff, I got myself a little double boiler insert. So that is what this is. This is for being able to melt your waxes or heat your plant oils for making your salves. Or if you're going to do, instead of doing like the long infusion method with your plant oils where you take like a dry herb and you stick it in oil for like 4 to 6 weeks or whatever and then decant it, you can also make a medicinal oil much more quickly by doing it in a double boiler. But you have to be very careful and watch that thing, because the tendency is for it to get too hot and you can end up frying your herbs instead of just extracting them, and then that is not a good thing. So you just really have to watch it. If you're going to try that method, seriously watch it. Like seriously watch it. So just know you're going to be standing by the stove for like an hour. Just like watching that thing. So I tend to like to just do it like for 4 to 6 weeks in a jar somewhere so I don't have to think about it. But every now and then there have been times when I've needed something quickly and I've done it that way and it works beautifully. But like I said, you have to watch it. I don't mean to be like, I don't mean to be overly repetitive, and I understand there's probably somebody out there like, yeah, I get it. You got to watch it. And it's like, do you get it? Because you think you get it and then you walk away and you come back and your herbs are sizzling. So if that happens to you, then you can't be mad at me because I said it like a million times. You have to watch it. So, all right. Now I got, the last few things I got are a St. John's wort herbal oil. So this is also just really amazingly, apparently, I've never used it before, but it is apparently extremely healing for pain, like muscle pain, nerve pain, and like sprains and tendon issues and stuff like that. So I also got this for my husband. The reason I bought this instead of making it myself is because St. John's wort herbal oil really must be made from fresh St. John's wort. There's certain plant preparations where it's like it has to be fresh or it just doesn't work. And for St. John's wort, I don't know what it loses, but it loses something in the drying process that makes it no longer effective as a medicinal oil. When you try to make it with the dry, you have to make it with fresh, and I don't have access to fresh St. John's wort, so I bought a St. John's wort oil. This is, again, also for my husband for his issue with his foot, to be applying this on there and hopefully speed along his healing. You know, he's a runner. This sucks for him. So he's like, he had to miss a race. He was planning a race, a big race, and now he's going to be hopefully doing another big race like in the next few months if we can get his foot healed. So I just want to support him in his endeavors. So I got him some St. John's wort oil for that. But it's just amazing. So like topical healer for all kinds of things, and just research St. John's wort. Actually, St. John's wort in general, even internal usage, like with tincture, tea, you can do both of those from the dried herb. It's famous, I guess, for being a mood lifter, but it's so much more than just a mood lifter. St. John's wort is another one of those ones I would not be without. And the only reason I didn't buy any is because I still have some left, because I always have it. I always buy it and I always have it on hand. It is, Susan Weed has called it a chiropractor in a bottle. So seriously, almost any kind of back issue, nerve pain, whatever, St. John's wort tincture specifically is a chiropractor in a bottle. I've thrown out my back and I've done like ibuprofen that didn't seem to help at all. And it takes a lot for me to be willing to take an ibuprofen, let me tell you. And then I suddenly was like, oh yeah, St. John's wort is supposed to help with that. And I started taking it. Holy crap, it worked so fast. So it was like 2 droppers full morning, noon, and night. And like by the next day, I was like, not like all the way better, but like I could bend without crying, you know? So it's like, it started healing so fast. It's extremely good for nerve repair and for healing. And I'm saying that like passionately because I've seen it in my body. It's specifically good also for that pain that you get like right here on the back, like from your neck to your shoulder. If you get like, if you have a really tight neck and you tend to hold stress in your shoulders and this pain that comes right here, it's also extremely good for that specific pain. So anyway, just FYI. So it's really, like I said, it's famous for mood, but I keep it on hand more because of the nerve stuff and the back stuff and this right here, because I get that. Because I've also noticed like I've gotten horrible headaches, and I didn't know if they were migraines or what, but I have personally realized like you can almost feel at times the like the tension, I guess, like the tightness, like from the top of my head down to this shoulder muscle. And like, I realized that one day, and then I went, wait a second, St. John's wort is supposed to help with this. I wonder if this is what's causing this. And so I started taking my St. John's wort, and sure enough, it got rid of the headache. As it took care of this, the headache completely went away. So that's just sort of like my stories that I have, and I just share it to be helpful. So I bought this for my husband, but the tincture and the tea is also still very helpful for internal stuff. But I guess for the external oil, it just sort of has to be from fresh. So I bought it. And then the last thing are these 4 essential oils. And so it's really cool that Mountain Rose Herbs seems to have some of the best prices on essential oils that I have ever seen. I've never bought oils from them before. And so in fact, I figured I would go ahead and actually do like a smell test on camera because I've never tried this before. And these are our most used essential oils. Some of them, we have a couple others, but these are the ones that I'm replacing because they're almost gone and I need more. It's lemon, eucalyptus, lavender, and tea tree oil. So for lemon, it's like super good for coughs. Oh yeah, that smells like a lovely lemon. And I will put the price on the screen for what these were, but these are 1 ounce bottles, which means well, 30 milliliters. It's the equivalent of 2 15 milliliter bottles. Sorry if it's overly obvious, but most of the essential oils that you buy will come in about a tablespoon bottle, which is 15 milliliters. And so these are twice as much as that standard bottle. and the prices are incredible. So lemon is extremely good for coughs if you kind of like rub it into your chest, but then you have to be really careful because it's also potentially like a photosensitive, I forget what they call it, oil, where if you go out into the sun within like 6 to 12 hours after putting it on your skin, you might end up with a reaction from the sun. So you have to be careful. Like if you are rubbing it into your chest to help with a cough, make sure you're covered up if you go out into the sun. Okay, tea tree is, you know, classic, it's Melaleuca. And so it is super super antibiotic, antimicrobial, antibacterial, antiviral, anti like everything. Oh yeah, that smells like just like a good tea tree. And so for me also personally, like, so we use it, so every single time I make a calendula salve, which I basically is my like my Neosporin type thing that I make, I always put tea tree oil in there to help with the wound healing and the cleansing and the antibacterial nature of it. But I gotta say, for us personally, the way that we use Melaleuca most, or tea tree oil, is for mosquito bites. If we get a mosquito bite, you put a little bit of the oil, and all of these diluted to your comfort level, or like what you need, because they should be diluted, but you put it on a mosquito bite and it starts making the mosquito bite disappear like super fast, usually within 15 minutes. But if you're not noticing, put a little more on, put a little more on. If it's really not going away, then it might be like a little spider bite instead. And so that's what we've noticed. But like if it's a genuine, like a mosquito bite, Melaleuca seems to make them disappear really fast. And that's one of the main reasons, or one of the main ways that we use it. Lavender essential oil. Okay, I'm gonna say this is not as strong of a lavender scent as I'm used to an essential oil having. It's still a good lavender scent, but it's not nearly as strong. So I don't know, I'm not unhappy about it. It's okay. So this is a great one. Gosh, if you have a super stuffy, like runny nose, put a little lavender on it. It seems to dry it up and make it feel really good. I mean, I feel almost like it's like with the Nettle, uses of lavender, legion, like so many uses for lavender essential oil. Like, I don't know if I could even get into all of them. For gas pain, period cramping, really any kind of cramping. So like, even if you have like diarrhea, which is causing like cramping in your stomach, you can get some relief by rubbing some lavender essential oil, over that. For burns, it's like powerfully good for burns. It heals burns so quickly. So this is another really great, almost like first aid thing to have on hand. It also can reduce stress levels. Apparently it can reduce high blood pressure, like it like the scent, the aromatherapy scent of it. And so there's, like I said, there's so many things that I'm never going to be able to name all of them on here. But yeah, lavender is just one of those ones we have to have on hand. It's just the best. And eucalyptus. I went through basically all of my eucalyptus in the diffusers while we had COVID in the house. Oh yeah, that's a good smell. It's a good smell for the eucalyptus. And so, yeah, it's so really good, like for your lungs and your sinuses and all of that, like all of that, and smelling it, clearing your lungs and just, yeah, it's fantastic for that. So we have to have this on hand. But yeah, like I said, I went through all of it, but I also had given away one of my bottles to one of my friends who got COVID and had it really bad. And so she was diffusing to help herself have some relief of her symptoms, and it was helping her as well. Although she ended up going to the hospital for the monoclonal antibodies, and then that really just took care of it. So she ended up having to actually go get help. But yeah, she ended up being fine. So praise God for that. But anyway, yeah, that's really everything that I have gotten. Oh, and I wanted to say too, one of the other things that really appeals to me about getting a larger amount for less is, as I mentioned, for diffusing specifically, it's like the lavender and the eucalyptus. I don't really ever diffuse these guys, the tea tree or the lemon. I don't actually like diffusing citrus oils. I feel like it makes me tired, which is a weird reaction maybe. And I don't know if anybody else has experienced something similar, but when the citrus oils, I feel like I just kind of start going, like I want to go to sleep. So I don't like diffusing citrus oils, but I haven't ever heard anybody else have that reaction. Most people, they feel energized and they feel happy. So for me, I have a different reaction. But because you end up using oils in the diffuser, you use a little bit extra, like more than you typically would, like for your applications, which are typically more diluted. I like the idea of being able to get more for a little less so that it doesn't feel like such a waste to be diffusing these oils, because some of them are extremely helpful as a diffused oil. And I just saw how long this video has gotten. Sorry. But anyway, also I'm not really sorry. I feel like it was all really good information. So anyway, let me know down in the comments below if these are any of these that you use in some way that I didn't cover. I'm sure there's a million things I didn't cover, especially things like rose hips, which I apparently know nothing about. So yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys like to do with them and some of your favorite preparations. And yeah, I forget the questions that I had asked, but I know for sure I asked about how to make a good thick vegan cheese without like, or not cheese, yogurt without any additives or anything like that. So yeah, hit me up in the comments down below and let me know your wisdom. I'd love to learn from you. And yeah, so I guess I'm gonna go ahead and call it quits. As always, I will put the recipes that I mentioned, the 2 tea recipes I mentioned, I will put down below in the description box. And as always, I hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys later. Bye.